something switched for me when I walked into meetings and I stopped thinking, how can I convince people that I deserve to be in the room? And how can I add value to you before you leave the room?
Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to the Framework Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Ken Engel, president of SCU, and joining me is our co-host, Michael Steiner, our SCU Senior Vice President for Advancement and Innovation. And wow, we are guest to have a family member of SCU on the show today, Pastor JJ Vasquez. And JJ is the founder and lead pastor of Journey Church in Orlando, Florida. And before founding Journey Church, you served in a lot of roles. You served as the district youth director for the multicultural district of the AG, where you trained leaders across more than, a couple hundred churches?
Yeah, 300.
And focused on always equipping that next gen and dedicated to equip the next group of leaders that God wants to use. And of course, you were a faculty member here at Southeastern University.
Can't forget that.
And a significant faculty member for our students, and so have great respect for you and your leadership and what you've done, and always honored to be in your presence and grateful you're doing this podcast. So thanks for being with us.
Yeah, same here. And I said it just at the last session of the SAU conference, but it's an honor to be here with great leaders, and having been under your leadership for almost 2.5 years, getting to eat. You took us to all the spots in Chicago when we went to some conferences, getting to eat with you and see you in an office and see you behind a dining room table. Honestly, one of the greatest leaders I've ever met. I use a lot of your things in our staff meetings today, your Engelisms, and so a great impact on my life, like you have many others. So thank you for being here, as well as Dr. Steiner.
Yeah.
He's been impacting our staff through his social media, his content, his influence too. So really feel like the small guy in the room, but thank you for having us.
You're good.
That's great. Well, you've been a huge advocate for servant leadership, and it's such a countercultural concept a lot, especially in today's kind of culture. So tell us this idea of, from your perspective and how you utilize it of servant leadership, how it clicked for you and how you're using it to raise up new leaders.
Yeah, I think it was a big paradigm shift. I think like every leader feels like when they walk into a room, they have to be the leader. So they have to know where to go. We have to know where we're headed. And we have to be able to project leadership. And I guess that's healthy to a point. Right? If you're flying a plane, you definitely want to be confident. You definitely want people to know that you know where we're going, and you don't want to panic or stuff like that. But something switched for me when I walked into meetings and I stopped thinking, how can I convince people that I deserve to be in the room? And how can I add value to you before you leave the room?
Yeah.
And so for me, servant leadership is walking into every meeting, walking into every environment where you're with other people, never once thinking about yourself, but thinking about how you can add value to others. Even when you're meeting with peers, and there's that pressure to share, or it's just like, how can I make you better?
Yep.
And so that's been a huge step for me, and honestly, a freedom. I think, when did you learn it? Why did you learn it? I learned it because it was exhausting, always having to feel like you're the guy in the room. And I think that kind of leadership is really just draining.
Yeah.
And so I love to just walk into a room now, have nothing to prove.
Yep.
And if I can add, great. If I can learn, even better.
Love it. And so, I think sometimes people, they view this concept of servant leadership, right, as like, I'm going to, passive, right? This whole idea of being a passive leader, and they kind of, think, okay, well, I'm just going to let it, or maybe sometimes people reject servant leadership because they think, well, I don't want to be a doormat for someone, right? I don't want to go through all this, Can you show us how this is actually a very active approach? Like, what does it mean to go in and actively serve and not be that doormat, but you're actually participating in those situations?
I think the key to that is understanding what it means to be an active listener. I love that phrase right there.
Yeah.
Because people think, listening is a guy just sitting there and nodding his head. But an active listener is someone who's engaged, who's asking questions, who's emoting, who's feeling. And so for me, I think one of the greatest things I could do as a servant leader is to sit in a room and ask questions, listen, try and learn, and try and feel. It's actually, I taught a leadership staff chapel to our staff, and it was like habits that I'm trying to avoid this year as a leader. And one of my habits is a habit of not listening. Because I feel like a lot of leaders, if you're in my position, you feel like you know what the right thing to do is, and you know. And I do believe to an extent, like I have the gift of discernment. I know that I do. And sometimes I'll be sitting with a leader, and they can be talking to me for 5 seconds, and within 5 seconds, right or wrong, right or wrong, I'm like, I already know what to tell you. And if you would just listen to what I would tell you, I promise your life would be better. Good. But I've learned that even if you do that, it doesn't matter, because they don't want advice as much as they want to be understood. And I think John Maxwell says it best, right? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so I've just found out that it doesn't matter. The advice doesn't matter if they don't feel like you're listening, if they don't feel like you're connected. And so I don't want to just give my team advice anymore. I want to give my team value, and I want them to feel understood and felt and heard. So now there's a lot of questioning. So now I'm like, so if I heard you right, this is what you're saying, and this is how you're feeling. Man, that must really hurt. I can't even imagine what that pain would be like. And 8 out of 10 times they don't even want the advice, and I had it wrong. And so I think if you're just going to sit back, that's passive. But if you're an active listener, then you're leading. You're leading people through that.
And sometimes those questions, I think often leaders can feel scared. Right, like they know the question. Right, you have that moment where it's like, man, I know exactly, but they feel that fear. How do you develop that courage to be able to ask people questions, those hard questions that really dig down?
I think you got to check your heart. You know, how do you, if you're a preacher, how do you build up the courage to talk about money? Right, the moment you realize that you're not asking them for anything, that you're actually giving them something. That generosity is not about me asking you for something. That when you are generous, you will be blessed. And so I'm asking you the question for you, not for me. And so that helps me get some of the courage that I need to be able to do it. This is for you. I love you. This is why I want to ask you this question. It might be hard for you. It might be hard for me, but I love you enough to ask it and fight through. So I think I always tell people, if you get the heart right, the words will follow. So how do I say the right words? It's always get the right heart. If you get the right heart, you'll find the right words.
You know, bad habits can be tough to shake. There's no doubt, especially when they're ingrained and you've kind of leaned on them over time in leadership. We often fall into a lot of patterns without even realizing it. So how can leaders really identify bad habits that might be kind of holding them back, and what steps can they take to unlearn them?
Yes, undoubtedly the number one step is, what is your process for receiving feedback? You got a lot of people on your team who love you, and they're not out to get you. They're not out to attack you. They have some thoughts about your leadership. And if you would take a second and listen, be an active listener, you'll realize, man, there are a lot of areas I can grow. So when it came to use the example of not listening, my habit this year that I'm really trying to break, and not because I don't love them, but I'm like, I have the answer, but that's not what matters. Being understood is what matters. I had conversations with 2 or 3 leaders, and I kept hearing the same thing. They're like, I understand what you're saying. They would all say it in one way, shape, or form, but they were like, I just don't feel understood, or I don't feel like I can trust you because I didn't spend enough time in the relational aspect. And so you should have a process for feedback, and it's got to be, that's a whole other podcast, but it's got to be a filter, because you can't take everybody's feedback. You got to make sure that they're people who know you, love you, are on the team, who are for you, and then you take the 10% of truth. If you don't agree with everything, you find the 10%, and then you just work on it. You just continue to invest in it. So I'm grateful that we have a staff that feels comfortable in calling me out and helping me get better and grow. And I try and do the same with them. So I think that's the main thing. Like you said, you don't know, because you've been doing it for years,
for a long time,
to a part. It's been successful. Like you've been successful, but like I've heard you say, what got you here isn't going to get you there. And so you're going to hit a lid at some point, and at some point you need to get enough people around you that have the permission and have the space.
And one of the things you talk about is that cultivating that self-awareness to know when you've hit that lid.
Because
I think that's the big thing that so many leaders,
number one leadership trait.
They missed it. Self-awareness. How do you cultivate that for yourself? How do you know when you're like, man, right now this is something I need to work on, is to cultivate listening, like you're talking
get
about.
married.
There you go. There you go. So true. So true. And then when that wears off, have a couple kids, and then it'll come back around.
They'll let you know straight up. They're so honest. And I mean, there's a factor of truth to that. But no, you don't never. Gosh, how do you factor for self-awareness? I think you just never. ever stop wanting to learn or grow.
Right.
You're always
Yep.
evaluating yourself.
Yep.
Someone asked me, how do you think you did at SCU conference? I just came off the stage preaching. And I'm like, I'm not the right person to ask after I preach.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Right.
so
Yep.
self-critical. I'm
Yeah.
so, things I could have done good.
Yes.
So good. You don't want to ask me
Yep.
because I'm evaluating myself. And to an extent, that's good. The
Right.
more you evaluate yourself, the better you're going to get, right? I'm going to work on some things. If I ever preach that message again, I'm going to work on some things. I'm going to tweak it, this and so forth. But then there was a student who came up afterwards and asked me kind of a similar question. And I just felt like I wanted to share with him what God was speaking to me when he was like, hey, I don't mind you second guessing. I felt the Holy Spirit through this.
Wow.
I don't mind you second guessing, but you could quit on the triple guessing.
Wow.
The quadruple guessing.
That's so good.
The quintuple guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But you have to have a spirit of second guessing. I really think that's healthy.
That's good.
Where you're like, hey, did I do that the right way? Because I want to do the best. Because it matters.
Right.
If it didn't matter, if the people didn't matter, then I wouldn't care. I
Right.
wouldn't do it. But
Right.
because I care,
Right.
it matters. So I'm going to second guess, but I'm not going to triple guess. I'm going to quadruple guess. I'm going to
Yep.
do the proper level of that. But treat
Right.
everything like that, and then
Right.
you will have, that is self-awareness.
Right. Well, and I think right there is the difference between what is insecurity and this healthy feedback is what are you evaluating? Are you evaluating how well you're serving an external purpose, and are you going there, and is what you're doing matter versus am I
Yes.
awesome?
Yes.
Am I as
So
awesome
good.
as I could be? And
Yeah.
it can be so subtle. And I
So
think
subtle.
that's where the leaders have that journey where you ask them, okay, how were they so incredible here, and then 5 years they're not, or they mess up? It's because the two can sound so similar,
So
right?
close.
And the devil does a great job at
Yep.
making you think you're being passionate about the cause when you're really just being passionate about yourself.
Yes.
And all that kind of
Gosh,
stuff.
that's so good,
that's
Michael.
just
Yeah.
that's the journey there. How do you fight that voice in yourself?
That's what I was
saying
telling. So we've got a guy on our staff, Gio. We were writing, and he was like, "Really? You thought you did?" And I was like, "Bro, I know." He's like, "But it's good that I evaluate myself. I just can't care more about how I did than was I obedient."
Right.
And
There you
so
go.
I'm gonna I know God asked me to speak what I spoke about, and that has to be the end all of metrics.
Right.
Yep.
That I was obedient and I said what God said. So I don't think you completely abandon it. It just can't be the thing that
Right.
drives you. I'd say if you're walking away feeling like you lost,
Right.
you cross that line.
Right.
You
There you
cross
go.
that line. If you
That's
walked
big.
away feeling like you can get better,
Yeah.
then you're there. And I think even the Holy Spirit, right? He brings a spirit of conviction, not of condemnation. Condemnation says, I can't believe you did that.
Yep.
Conviction says, that's not you. You'll get better.
Yep.
You'll grow. This is not who you are. You're going to improve. And when we're convicted, to an extent, we're encouraged
Yeah.
because we know that God has not given up on us. And so when you walk away from whatever it is in your capacity of leadership, do you walk away in a spirit of condemnation or a spirit of conviction? I can grow and I can get better, or I did better.
Yeah.
Because you're so right. It's so similar.
So
It's
similar.
apple,
Yeah.
apple,
Right.
banana. It's
Right.
like, but it's me wanting to give my best to the Lord and understanding that was.
Yeah.
That was.
Love it.
And I got to be okay with
Yeah.
that.
And it is. It's about growing and getting better, and that's every day of your life.
Every day.
It's all about life stewardship. Man, God, I want to be the best that you've called me to be in the context that you've placed me. How do you daily discipline yourself in self-awareness and self-discipline so that you can, in many ways, reflectively guarantee, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to grow in this
Yeah.
and I'm going to be better.
Yeah.
But I have to make it a part of a daily process.
Yes. I'll answer. I don't know if the podcast works. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, so I would say yes. So for me, it's trying to control the things that I can't control, the small things,
Sure.
the little things. So going to the gym 3 or 4 times
Yep,
a week,
yep.
making sure that I'm reading some kind of content. It's my daily morning devotional. I got a 10-year Bible journal that I picked up. And so every day for the last 5 years, I know because I started during COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
That's so
I was like,
cool.
I
Yeah.
need you, Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I started reading my Bible every day and writing every day. So I've read through the Bible effectively 5 years in a row now. And there's little things, and sometimes I don't get anything that I'm get out of it, like a revelation,
Yeah.
but it's the discipline.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is teaching me to do hard
Yep.
things. I want to do hard things. On Sunday before I preach, I do this weird thing. I'm in the shower, and then I put it on as cold as it can go
Yep.
for 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay.
For 30 seconds,
Yeah.
and it's cold, and I stay under it as a discipline
Yep.
for me to be like, I can do hard
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
If I can stay under this water for 30 seconds, I can preach for 30 minutes. I
can ask a hard question.
and
when
I can
need
ask
to.
a hard
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
And so I think you have to build a body of evidence
Yes.
Wow. For yourself.
for yourself to convince you that you are the person you are portraying. My question to you would be, I'm 38, I'll be 39 this year. As long as I've known you, you've always been growing. How do you do it for so long?
For me, it's all about creating a system that allows you to be consistent. So what your system, how you allow that system to be developed is how you're going to continue to grow. And so for me, I do a lot of the same things you do when it comes to self-awareness piece. One of the things that I do daily, and it's so important, and I do it at the end of the day because for some reason that allows me to kind of really reflect in totality. So journaling, so man, who did I talk to today? And what did they say? And how can I learn from that? What did I encounter in experiences today? Did I have some good ones? Did I have some difficult ones? Did I have some challenges? Did I have great opportunities? And then for me, something about writing allows it to really take hold. So that's a consistency element to my system.
I love that.
And then, same thing with self-management. You create a system of this is what I do daily. So, and we have the natural things that we do. Hopefully we have the natural things like take a shower, brush your teeth, do those kinds of things. But then you also, like you said, for me lately, it's been cold plunging.
Hey.
And
If I could afford one, I'd do it.
I love that. Going out, I was telling him today, I'm building up my time sitting in that cold plunge.
Nice.
And
what are you up to? What are you up to?
Right now, I'm just up to 4 full minutes, but
30 degrees?
40 degrees.
Yeah, 40 or less.
Yeah.
And it's starting about 30 seconds in, you're feeling the pain, and it's like, but you just it has to be a system. Systems change everything, and it has to be a system that it develops consistency, and you do that, and wow, you'll be amazed at seeing that, and a lot of times you're going to have to change your systems as well. I mean, how many times have we as a leadership team at the university changed our system to reflect our growth, to reflect where we're headed? Because you can't, like we talked about, you can't do the same things over and over and expect to get someplace new or to get to another level. So it's those kinds of things that, I've leaned on, and it's going to be unique and different to everyone based on who you are and what God's doing in your life and how he wants to use you in your context. So those are some things that
That's really good. Thank you.
One quick question I want to ask. It has to do with unexpected challenges. Journeys, I think a lot of times often unfold in unexpected ways in leadership. How can leaders cultivate resilience when they can't see immediate results? They're not there, or unforeseen challenges come in the way, and it totally blows out the expectation in the water. How do you navigate that?
Yeah. So for me, my mind automatically goes to when my wife and I lost our son. The year before we were going to plant the church, she was pregnant. It was our third. We were so confident it was going to be a girl. I bought her a little girl Pandora bracelet charm. So excited. Turns out it was twins. We lost one of the twins at our first sonogram. The second twin kept growing. But 2 months before the due date, he didn't develop lungs. He was born. The doctors didn't think he'd make it to birth. He was born. But because he didn't have lungs, he was on a breathing machine and then passed away 7 hours after being born. And that was the year that we were getting ready to plant a church. And his name was Journey. And so we had a whole other name for the church. But when we lost the child, my wife and I were telling our story about it on social media. And we started to get these testimonies from people who, one lady in particular, who said that she was pregnant with her fourth kid, and there was a fourth different guy. She was thinking about aborting, but we didn't. We were very vocal about the idea that doctors were telling us that this child has no chance of being born or surviving, so you need to terminate. And we were just like, well, that's just God's decision. So, and our faith was that God would heal him all the way up until birth. Wow. But he didn't. And she went in her email. She said, I just want you to know because your baby died. She said, my baby's living. And she would send us pictures of her daughter every birthday that she had as a reminder of the impact of our loss. And so when we started to get that story in particular, that was when we shifted the entire name of the church. A lot of people don't know we actually had whole different name for the church, which actually made it a pain when we did like the DBA stuff on the that's a whole thing. But that was when we decided to change the name of Journey, not in memory of my son, but the idea, to answer your question, Dr. Engel, is that God can take a painful thing and make a beautiful thing. And now we get a bunch of people who come to our church who have a similar story, whatever their painful thing is, they're fill in the blank. Maybe it's not that, it's this. And so whenever I'm up against a wall, whenever I hit something that wasn't planned, I in the back of my mind, I go, I wonder what God is up to. And I think that's where this is the beauty of not just being a leadership podcast, but a faith-based leadership podcast, that we have a tool that other leaders don't have. They've got to scramble. They've got to run. We can actually rely on this thing called the sovereignty of God and the goodness of God and go, man, there must be, I cannot wait to see how he turns this around. The building that we're in the process of buying now, there were 3 other buildings that we wanted to get into at our church, and one of them got demolished, the other one got bought, the other one got bought, and the first building was $20,000, the second building was $30,000, the third building was $40,000. The building we're in now is 97,000 square feet at a third of the price that all those other buildings were. And it's perfect but we didn't know that. At the time, we felt like God was pulling the rug under us. We were so sure that was the Lord. So staff members that leave, when a staff member leaves, you go, man, how are we ever going to do ministry without that staff member?
Right.
And then you find out God had an upgrade. No offense to that staff member. If you're listening, we love you, but God always sends an upgrade. And so it's like, you've learned that now over time, that God's plan is better than my plan. And whenever I am faced at a moment of resilience, it's really a test of my trust. And I'm just trusting that he's got a better plan. So I just hang in there to see the end of the story. It breaks my heart for how many people leave the story in the middle of the story. That's so sad. If you stick, man, you're going to find out the ending is the best part.
And that's what's so wonderful about our loving God and having that relationship with him. It is about that trust and faith. His ways are always going to be higher than ours, and we may not understand in the moment, but in time we look back and we go, wow, now I know why God allowed that, or gave that opportunity to learn, to grow, to lean on him. And again, his plans are always way beyond what we could ever imagine. And so well said, man. I could sit down with you all day long and have conversation with you, because I love your humility and your desire just to be used in the way God wants to use you, and you always display that. So thank you for that, and grateful for everything you've done for this university. You continue to be a great example of what it's like to go forth and be obedient to God's call, which is all about what we do. Divine design. Divine design,
man. That's another one I say all the time.
Love it. Thanks for being on the show, man. If you're listening here and you want to stay up to date with JJ, make sure you follow him on Instagram at JJ_Vasquez and on X at JJL Vasquez. And make sure you stay up to date with Journey Church on Instagram at JourneyORL. Make sure you check them out. Any other place they can go?
That's it.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us on the show today. Take care.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Well, thanks for joining us on Framework Leadership. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe so leadership insights keep coming your way. You can also catch every episode on your favorite podcast platforms, and look for bonus resources. Subscribe to the Framework Leadership newsletter at kentingle.com. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at Kent_Ingle and at Dr. Michael Steiner, on X at Kent_Ingle, and at Facebook at Kent Ingle to stay up to date with the podcast and everything happening at Southeastern University.
Thanks for being part of the community.